Hi, I'm Kim Skildum-Reid from Power Sponsorship in Sydney, Australia. And today we're going to be talking about sponsorship pricing basics. And oh my word, do I get asked about this a lot. And most of the people that ask me about how to price out sponsorships are looking for a formula. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're looking for a formula, you might as well just, go look somewhere else on some other blog, some other video, because there is no magic formula. There really, really isn't. I'm going to give you a methodology for what to do, what not to do, and how to get to the right baseline and how to adjust for market influences. But I swear to you right now, there is no magic formula. So stop looking and just take on board a methodology. The first thing to address is getting pricing wrong, because wow, it happens all the time. I get actually called a lot from rights holders that are saying, we need sponsorship valuation. We need everything on our benefits list to have a dollar figure next to it. And I'm like, mate, that's not how you do it. You're actually selling an entire fit for purpose opportunity, not the sum of the benefits. That's sort of like saying, okay, well, this screw is worth 50 cents and this other screw is worth 50 cents. And then these risers are worth maybe $3 each. And you get a whole pile of that stuff and you say, well, there's your ladder. And it's like, mate, a pile of parts is not the same thing as a ladder, which might use the same parts, but it's actually fit for purpose. And that's what you need to think about. You're not selling parts, you're selling an actual marketing platform. And the other thing about approaching it that way is that similar packages can have really different values for different sponsors. Now, an example of that would be, let's just say for a second that you have a really high-end food festival. Like, it is amazing, this high-end food festival gets tons of people, all these artisans are there, and you have options. So you might say, all right, in our city we have two grocery stores, two stores that are really high-end independent stores that are selling groceries of the type that we're selling at this event. Now, you could sell that company a really interesting, really creative, amazing offer. But here's the thing. They can only leverage across their small geographic area, across two individual stores. So their leverageability of this is limited. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to them. I'm not saying they might not be the best choice, but you actually need to think about this in a different way, just to understand how pricing works, which is, let's just say you have a national grocery store brand, or even an online grocery store brand that's national, that sells all sorts of amazing stuff, and they really talk about themselves as being the good food people. If you went to them with ideas on how they could use this food festival to showcase how good, how artisanal, how wonderful, how locally sourced their foods are all over the country, and give them ideas for content that they can use and leverage all over the country, who is it going to be worth more for? The national organization or that local one with only two stores? Now, you can make your own decisions here on which one's a better fit for you, but the one that it's worth more money is the national organization, provided that you give them ideas for how they can use it on a national or at least a larger regional manner. Now it's time to talk about the pricing methodology. Again, no formula, but there is a methodology that's going to help you to get much, much closer to the right price, plus keep your ass out of a sling, which is always good. The first step to this is calculating your baseline fee. Now, your baseline fee is not the price. I mean, if your baseline fee ends up being the price, that would just be a happy coincidence and nothing else. So it's not the price, but it does ensure that you don't sell too low. So you aren't selling it so low it's not worthwhile for your organization. I want you to add up the cost to deliver the benefits. So you come up with the offer, you backfilled it with the benefits that actually support the creative ideas that you've built this offer around. And then you figured out how much it's going to cost you to deliver those benefits. This is not how much it costs you to deliver your event or deliver your season or deliver whatever, the exhibition, the conference, whatever you're trying to sell. This is not that number. This is just how much it costs you to deliver the benefits that are going to be in a contract. Then you add the cost of sale. This is how much it costs you to sell a sponsorship. And a lot of organizations will work with their financial controller or their accountant just to come up with one average number that you just smack into there for every single one of your sales. So that could be $2,500, it could be $3,700, it could be $1,200, but it will probably be generally in that lower four-figure area, unless you're selling gigantic sponsorships and you're spending lots of time on planes and such to do that. So the last thing you need to add into this figure is the cost of servicing. This is what you do that is extra after the sponsorship is sold. So the cost of servicing is generally thought of to be 10% of the gross value of the sponsorship. So what you do is you add together the other two and multiply that by about 12%, and then you end up with something that's around 10% of the total. Generally speaking, that tends to work. So you've added together those three things. Now, would you sell it for that? No, you would not, because what would be the point of that? You're basically selling it for the same amount that it's costing you to deliver the sponsorship. So instead, you add those three numbers together, multiply it by 3. So that will give you your baseline fee. That means that should you sell for that amount or more, let's hope it's more, then your costs to deliver it are going to be no more than 1/3 of the revenue it produces. I see it in sponsorship policies all the time where there's actually a line that says the cost to deliver any sponsorship shouldn't be more than 30% or 1/3 of the total amount of revenue that it brings in. So this gets you into that zone. So that's your baseline fee. You're going to need to adjust it, but we'll get to the adjustments in a minute. The other fee that you want to do is your red line fee, which is taking those three things that you've added together: cost of benefits, cost of sale, cost of servicing. And you add those together and you multiply them by 2 instead of 3. So that's your red line fee. So once you start adjusting your baseline fee, if it's getting closer and closer and closer to your red line fee, where it's going to only give you twice as much revenue as it's costing to deliver the sponsorship, is it really worth it? Because there are a lot of headaches and it's a lot of management. Really, truly don't want to get too close to that line. So the next thing you need to do to your baseline fee, just set your red line fee aside for a moment, is to assess what the market will bear. You can do that based on research. You can hit up your network for feedback. Oftentimes, I try to set up my rights holder clients with other rights holders that don't compete against them. So they may be sports and community events and arts and such, and they bounce pricing off each other until they get really, really comfortable with what the market will bear. So this is great. That's a great area to look at if you're not that experienced in sponsorship, is to reach out and make some non-competing contacts and say, look, I just need some feedback on a proposal once in a while, and also some pricing, and happy to do the same for you. Because the thing is that, oftentimes rights holders, the only pricing they ever see is their own pricing. And so if you've got some other sort of intel around pricing in the market, that can be really useful. So that's what the market will bear. And I wish I could just tell you what the market will bear. I can't. Some markets have lists of what sold for what in newsletters or publications. Some really, really huge deals are big enough that they actually get covered in industry media, but most don't. Now, another thing you need to keep in mind is that shorter lead times are going to decrease the value, because if you have a really short lead time, sponsor is not going to have enough time to make the decision, plan their leverage plan, and then implement their leverage plan before your event or season kicks off. So Shorter lead time is actually going to depress the amount of money that you can get for a sponsorship. There are other external factors like competing sponsorships in the marketplace. If you're in a marketplace like I'm in Australia, and we've hosted some enormous events, Rugby World Cups and Olympics, and when those things happen, it actually siphons tons of sponsorship money into those huge events, and a lot of smaller events end up losing sponsorships because of it, at least temporarily for a couple of years. That again can depress what you can get for a sponsorship. Another one is uniqueness. I mean, if you're selling a sponsorship to something where there's 200 different festivals just like it in your marketplace, it's not going to be, a huge unique selling point for you, and that could also affect your price. But if what you're doing is really innovative, and the way that you've packaged your sponsorships and the leverage ideas you've included with your sponsorships are really, really strong, then your uniqueness factor goes right up, and that means it's more positive for what you can charge. Then there's the economic or industry trends. And this is an important one. I mean, the economy right now, as I'm recording this, it's reasonably good in some places. It's pretty crap in other places. We've got inflation has sort of been pretty sticky and employment in some places has been dropping. So look, that can depress the prices that you can charge when it's sort of a tight economy. When the pendulum swings back and it's back to boom times, prices will tend to go up. So it's really important to take on board that whole range of external factors, lead times, creativity, other stuff in the marketplace, etc., because that will help you to adjust that baseline fee so that it is closer reflection of what the market will actually bear, what it's actually worth. Now we need to look back at your red line fee. If all of those adjustments have gone down, 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 and all of a sudden you're getting really close to, or even maybe, God forbid, below your red line fee, you need to really think about whether you want to sell at that price. There are a couple of things that you can do if that's the case. You could consider reworking the benefits to reduce the delivery cost. I actually have a template called the generic inventory, which is this 8-page list of all the things that you can sell around a sponsorship. I mean, it's not all of them, but it's a pretty lot of them. And it's in Word format, so you can customize it. Now, this is a great tool if you need to rework the benefits, because you can help a sponsor achieve virtually the same thing with benefits that are cheaper to deliver oftentimes. So maybe you can actually make it cheaper for you to deliver, meaning that your profit margin, the margin that you can use to run your event or underpin your season or whatever you need to do with that money, is more significant. You can also do multi-year deals, and I'm a big lover of multi-year deals. I strongly suggest you do them anyway, but if, for instance, you are on a reasonably short lead time in the first year and that is depressing your price, you can say to them, we're looking for a 3-year deal, and if you will commit to a 3-year deal, we're happy to discount the first year by 40% because we understand that this gives you a little less time than is ideal for creating and implementing your leverage plan. That makes you look really professional because you're not trying to sweep it under the rug that it's a short lead time. But if you can get a 3-year deal where years 2 and 3 are back up at the normal level, the overall profitability of that deal is probably going to be fine, even if it's not ideal when you look at just that first year. You wouldn't do this for a single year deal. You want to do it over a multi-year deal. And the other thing that you can do, as I've already alluded to, is actually really readdress those creative leverage ideas that you're providing to the sponsor. Because if you can create a lot of vision, and it really is about them and their target markets and what they're trying to achieve, that increases your value. It significantly increases your value. I strongly suggest you consider taking my online course called Getting to Yes, because that actually shows you exactly how to go about getting those creative ideas for a sponsor. And the cost of the of the course will be borne out 1,000 times over by the amount of money more that you'll get for sponsorships if they include these ideas in there. So that's it. That's my advice. I'm sorry I don't have a formula, but I gotta say, look, if somebody says there's a formula, they're trying to sell you the formula. And you just don't want to do that because it's not going to get you to the right place. They'll sell you a formula that's based on that first thing that we talked about, which is putting dollar figures next to all your benefits. And that is selling parts instead of the whole fit for purpose platform that is the sum of the parts. It's going to be always worth more. So what I want you to do is review one sponsorship this week using this method and see where your pricing comes out. And when I do this with clients, if I tell them to revisit it, it always comes up higher. It comes up higher. They realize immediately they've been underselling themselves. So what I'd like you to do now, please, is like, subscribe, and comment with your biggest pricing challenge. If you want a deeper dive, there's a link to a related blog in the video description where you can actually see the formula instead of having to listen to me talk about it. There's also lots and lots more resources on my website, powersponsorship.com. There's links to additional resources that I've referred to throughout this video and how you can find me on socials, as well as how you can find out how to work with me if that's something that interests you. Thank you so much for your time, and see you next time.